Right then, so we've been playing the Battlefield 4 beta for probably about maybe 3 or 4 days now. I think we've got some sort of good first impressions of it, and sort of gone past the honeymoon period, as I like to call it, and found that there are still some flaws in there. So, well, okay, let's pick out the first bit that really stood out for you, at least, anyway.
Well, as you said, the honeymoon period is pretty much over, and I think one of the biggest problems for me was the honeymoon period was over before the beta was even released. For me, this is one of the biggest flaws because we've seen so much information about this map. I mean, I understand that DICE and Battlefield and EA, they really wanted to kind of grind out all this information and really get hype going for Battlefield 4, but I remember when we were at Eurogamer speaking to people and saying, even though we hadn't even played Siege of Shanghai yet, people were bored of the map because they'd seen so much of it already. So for me, one of the biggest issues was actually the kind of honeymoon period that within like, maybe, I mean, I've played it less than you have, I've been away. I mean, in the short period that I've played it, it's like, I feel that I already know the map and I've already played it and I'm already a bit bored of it. So for me, one of the biggest problems is just kind of overexposure to this one map. It's kind of almost killed it off too early for me personally.
Yeah, I felt the same thing, and you know, you were talking about the overexposure, and I think they've to an extent it's been overhyped as well, because there's certain aspects of the map that we've known out for so long, i.e. the skyscraper coming down and things like that. It really didn't give me the feeling that I thought it was going to give me. Like, do you remember the first time you played Van Peak in Battlefield 3, jumping off and doing the base jump? You got that rush feeling where, because you didn't really know about it until that point, it was really sort of exhilarating to do that.
Exactly.
Whereas with the skyscraper, the first time it came down, I was like, "Oh, the skyscraper's gone down now."
Exactly.
Okay, let's carry on.
Yeah, with Van Peak, I never even know about it until I jumped off. I jumped off that, and it was like, "Whoa, this is a crazy feature in Battlefield." But like I said, with the kind of skyscraper collapsing, we've seen that clip over and over and over again, and it's not going to be like, "Oh, here comes the skyscraper." It's just like, "Oh, yep, that's happening again." So, and obviously, hopefully that isn't going to be the case with the full game, because we've only seen, you know, 3 Levolutions. We've seen the way the dam collapses, we've seen the skyscraper, and we've seen the ship crashing into the island. We have seen the kind of telescope collapsing on the big telescope map that's either in Arecibo or somewhere in China. But apart from that, we've obviously got lots of other maps yet that we haven't seen what their Levolution is going to be. So hopefully the Levolution aspect is still going to be very exciting on these other maps. But for Siege of Shanghai and probably Paracel Storm, it does seem a little bit kind of old already, even though we haven't had that much time to actually play it yet. So
yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people have felt it, but it's something that I think maybe the same as Metro with Battlefield 3. People got bored of it very quickly. They'll move on. We'll find different maps, especially because there's now an extra map compared to Battlefield 3. We've got 10 in the base game, which is quite a sizable number at least. And I'm pretty sure we'll find another map that we enjoy anyway.
I mean, I think Siege of Shanghai is going to be like Operation Metro in terms of it's going to be kind of damned. I mean, I know obviously Operation Metro is a massively popular map for people who just want to play Conquest with 1,000 tickets, but at the same time, it's also equally unpopular because people just kind of avoid it. I know myself, I kind of avoid it because I played it so much in the beta that it was just a map for at least the first 6 months. It'd come into rotation, I'd just go, no. And it's going to happen with Siege of Shanghai. Every time I see that map, I'm just going to go, probably not, let's not play that, because I've just played like maybe like 30 hours of it on the beta. So it's a shame really. Any map they have to pick for the beta is going to become a little bit down when the full game comes out. So hopefully, maybe, obviously today the open beta begins. Right now as we're speaking, the beta is down, so maybe they're going to be bringing in a new game mode, and maybe we did see last time with the beta, they brought in Caspian Border halfway through, especially on PC, so we might actually see another map, maybe Parasol Storm, or maybe even Zavod 311 as we played that at Eurogamer. That was beta stage. I mean, that was actually a newer beta than the version we're playing now, isn't it? Because as you said, this version we're playing now is back from August.
I mean, when we were at Eurogamer, the game we were playing felt much more polished than the one we're playing now. And I did say to you that I think the reason that the one we're playing now is because, of course, when you put something on the console, it has to be accepted through their system, so it takes about a month or so, which is why we're playing the version we are, and we've got more bugs than we had in the Xbox One version of Zavod 311. But I have to say, if they were to introduce a new map, I put this out on Twitter the other day actually, and I asked if you wanted Paracel Storm or you wanted Zavod 311, and it was pretty much a 50-50 split. And I have to say, if it was for me, I'd want Zavod 311 because I haven't seen a lot of it, and it looked like a really interesting map at Eurogamer. Whereas again, we've seen a lot of Paracel Storm, so it could become another map that people won't play as much simply because it's just been overhyped a little bit. Something that they did decide as well, especially on console, I've had a lot of people come to me in comments and private messages and Twitter and stuff saying they've changed the controls. Why have they done this? And so for me, I mean, I haven't played it on console really, but I can understand that people that do tend to play on console, if you change the controls from game on game, then that's fine. But because Battlefield 4 is quite similar to Battlefield 3, I can see why people have been complaining about that so much. I mean, it must be infuriating for them.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke about this in my first impressions video, actually, the fact that obviously with PC it's very different because you can kind of keybind absolutely every key, and you've also got, you know, over 100 keys to your disposal on the keyboard. But for console, I can actually understand why they've had to change it, because there's a lot of new features you need buttons for, things like switching between your iron sights and your canted iron sights. That's a whole new button that you never needed before in Battlefield 3. Things like, well, there's just different attachments you can switch between, and there are a lot of new features. Obviously, you've got your different grenades. There are different features that weren't in Battlefield 3, so I can understand that they have to switch the controls a little bit because they've got to try and find a new way of fitting in. Obviously, a controller only has a finite amount of buttons to use.
Yeah.
They've got to find a way to fit all these different new commands into a certain size controller with a certain amount of buttons. But, I mean, I personally, like I said, I don't play much on console. I did find myself struggling a little bit. I know on the PlayStation 4, at least, it's now going to be the back triggers that do the firing, like the Xbox. And I found myself, when we were using the Xbox One, my back fingers naturally rested on the controller a little bit too hard, and I'd find myself, I kept aiming down sight unintentionally.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's because I'm a massive console noob, but it was quite frustrating constantly. Like, I'd be running along and then suddenly come to a grinding halt because I'd suddenly look down look down sight and I'd be like, oop, didn't mean to press that. And now I know that with PlayStation 4 they are using the triggers on the back again rather than the R1 and R2, the R1 and L1 buttons.
Yeah.
So that's going to be something that I know console, as an old PlayStation player, switching between just those two alone is going to be a massive kind of change that will take a while to get used to, I think.
Yeah, but, definitely will. I mean, other things you're going to have to get used to as well is other things they've actually put into the game, i.e. the fact that your recon, you've got the, the laser designator target system, and the fact that you can now lock on with RPGs, which you couldn't do before. And it seems like a really strange decision, but I have to say that I'm actually really happy with that. And especially because I read on Twitter earlier today, Alan Kurtz, the lead gameplay designer, he's actually mentioned that in the beta, the RPGs do like 100% damage to pretty much all the helicopters that you can hit with it. And I've noticed the attack helicopters hit them with one RPG, then you can take them out. They're actually going to reduce the damage by about 10% in the final game. So people that were complaining about that, it's actually going to get fixed so that it's not going to be so powerful, because at the moment you can pretty much aim an RPG at one of the lock-on signs and you can take down attack helicopters pretty much all the way across the map. Yeah,
I mean, it's one of those things, I mean, weirdly enough, I mean, I don't know too much military weaponry, but I'm sure RPGs aren't lock-on in real life. I thought RPGs were very basic weaponry. I mean, especially the RPG-7.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're using them more, obviously, with all the Russian weapons in Battlefield 4, they're all the latest ones. We've no longer seen the AK-74, the AK-47. We're seeing the AK-12. We're seeing the AK-U-12 or whatever it's called. It's all the latest 2012 modified, up-to-date version. So maybe we're seeing the RPG-12 or whatever it's entitled. So maybe it does have lock-on. But in terms of the actual game itself, I think it's a good thing, because in Battlefield 3, let's not lie, the helicopters sometimes were very, very kind of powerful with their flares, and obviously you had to have the right RPG. You join as your engineer and you think, crap, I've got an RPG, right, I need to now change to a Stinger, or I need to now change to a different type of launcher. So it's now good to have a launcher that maybe is a little bit, it's a bit more multi-use, a bit more universal, that you can use with choppers. But as you said, 100% power at the moment is pretty intense. But normally with these kind of things with the beta, this is a point in the beta really, isn't it, to see which one of these weapons is too powerful, which aren't powerful enough, and try and balance these things out before the game comes out. But as you said, it did confuse me a little to see the RPG being a lock-on tool. I mean, we saw images of that a long time ago, and I was like, I'm sure that can't be the case,
right, no.
And it's something you've spoke about as well, the speed of the RPGs now. I mean,
oh my god.
Battlefield 3, you had to aim at least like 100 meters in front of a chopper if it was flying like left to right. And now the speed of these things, they're flying like bullets almost, so...
Yeah, I have to say, it's a much more pleasing experience. The whole hit detection system, I have to say, has been really refined and really well done now. And I was talking about that in one of my previous videos. I thought maybe I misspoke, or maybe at the time, first impressions kind of thing, didn't know too much about it. But I was saying that it felt like all the weapons did about double the amount of damage that what they did in Battlefield 3. And I found out that, at least I think this is correct, that the hitbox system has changed. So rather than having hitboxes on the arms, hitboxes on the legs, hitboxes on the torso, I think there's an upper body hitbox and a headshot hitbox, instead of being all these individual ones, trying to make it easier for the hit detection to work. And the fact that then you've got a torso hitbox, which at close range is going to be 25 damage. So 4 shots with an AK-12 drops them instantly, whereas in Battlefield 3 you might have hit them in the arm with a couple of shots, then moved across to the chest. You might be looking at 5-6 shots. So in general, the hit detection and actually the whole sort of damage system does feel a little bit more pleasing. Maybe making it easier, I don't know, but generally for me, it's making it feel a little bit easier to play with the guns now.
I mean, that's something. Yeah, exactly. That's something I spoke about when we played the beta at Eurogame. I mean, obviously my aim wasn't great on the Xbox One, but even then I could realise that when I got the SRR61, I think it's entitled the Intervention, the hit detection was so much better. I mean, you had to lead obviously on a target that was moving left to right or right to left, but you could, on Battlefield 3, there'd be so many occasions you think this is a hit, and it should be a hit. You can see it should be a hit. Or like you might even see the character's animation move, but your hit detection has just not noticed it. But in Battlefield 4 so far, I've noticed the hit detection box, even on the Xbox One, it might have been actually easier for me to notice because my aim was so poor on the Xbox, but I noticed that if I kind of panicked and strafed across with the Xbox One controller, when I strafed over the character, it was, I was getting a hit rather than the bullet just, not making any kind of connection. So the hit detection is, I mean, obviously the hit detection has always been something that Battlefield has, had a bit of a problem with. I mean, Bad Company 2, I always remember the hit detection was hilarious. The fact you could shoot, if you shot a round between a soldier's legs whilst he's running, that counted as a kill. So it actually made it easier if you aim for the legs when he was running, because his legs were spread wider. It was the largest mass on his body, so it was actually easier to aim for his legs for the kill when you were sniping, because of the hit detection was all over the place. And obviously Battlefield 3 was an improvement, and it looks like now Battlefield 4 they've ramped that up again, and we should be seeing a much more refined hit detection. Which at the end of the day, in a shooting game, hit detection is something that should be, pretty much perfect.
It's the main aim of the game.
If the hit detection is not right, it does throw the whole purpose of the game out the window, really.
And one thing it probably would tie in, do you remember at Eurogamer there was no aim assist? Perhaps that's tying in with the hit detection, because now it's easier to hit people. There's no need for aim assist anymore. Yeah,
I mean, we didn't know his aim assist, and Mac, we obviously talked to Mac the Gun, who is an Xbox player, and he didn't say there's aim assist, but a lot of people in the comments were saying that they played and they thought there was, but obviously there's always a lot of contradiction in the comment section on videos, but from what we saw, there definitely wasn't any aim assist on it. It was very free moving. There wasn't any kind of magnetic forces when you were aiming at people. So maybe that's the reason why because they've upgraded the hit detection so much, as you say, they now feel, they don't need that aim assist on there so much. So, I mean, personally, I found the aim assist being turned off actually easier for sniping than when it was turned on. Everything moved, everything flowed at an equal speed. It didn't suddenly speed up and slow down as you aim near people as the hit detection tried to take over for you. So
maybe it was a good thing.
Maybe it was a good thing. We'll find out.
Well, as for that, then that's pretty much it. I mean, the beta is pretty much exactly what it's for. It's the beta. So I mean, I was expecting something a little bit more refined, to be perfectly honest, but then at the end of the day, whatever you get for a beta, it's simply there to gain data so they can balance the game, make sure everything's sort of working right, so that most of the larger bugs can be sort of weeded out before the main game. And it seems like it's working. I know a lot of people on PC had issues with frame lag and stuff like that, but that seems to have been sorted now. And it definitely seems like since when we got the beta on the 1st to now on the 4th when the open beta comes out, they've made a lot of changes already, and it feels like it's working a lot better, or at least I've got used to these things, and we've been able to tell DICE, look, hey, this doesn't work properly. And the amount of tweets I've been seeing going through Reddit, it looks as if they're actually paying attention to what we say, and of course that's the point of a beta, so I can't really say too much saying, oh, it's bad and whatever, because it's a beta. So
oh, exactly. I mean, us discussing these issues is what they want. They want this feedback. So at the end of the day, the more feedback you guys give us is, and we give them, is just the better. So hopefully, overall, all this information and all this time should bring out a nicely refined game when Battlefield 4 drops. But I'm not crossing my fingers. I am still expecting a day one patch.
Oh yeah, definitely there will be one. There will be
a day one patch. I mean, it's not Battlefield without a day one patch. So we'll have to see.